Hello, everyone that's joining. I'm working on this visual for an article that I've been writing where I'm analyzing each one of these. So, user needs, jobs to be done, problem statements, and goal statements. Let me know if you guys have used any of these. These types of statements are more for, I wouldn't say qualitative research. They're more to represent some of the key findings, maybe out of some of your research. So, it's a way to it's a way to articulate actually, yeah, what you have found in research, some of these. Or, yeah, jobs that you've identified that your users try to do, what needs they have, so on and so forth, all that good stuff. Or problems that you've found that they've had. Or, in general, the goal statement is more about what your product does for particular user or how it will affect particular types of users as well. Yeah, a little bit different in each one. Right now, I'm just doing a bit of pros and cons for each one of them. I want to start a UX here, but first thing I need to ask, what laptop is ideal to purchase? Oh, any laptop. You could start on Windows 98. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but even like a Chromebook or something like super cheap. You don't need anything fancy. The program that I'm using here, Figma, which is what most designers are using these days. Also Miro, lots of the tools are kind of web-based, so they're not like heavy. Like maybe back in the day, you needed a really powerful hard drive to support all your Adobe programs, but that hasn't been the case for like decades. So you can really have any laptop, any sort of computer would work. How should I go about creating my portfolio if I'm using briefs off the internet? The thing you really want to make sure that you do is that if you're just designing for a brief, really articulate the brief as if it were exactly real. Hopefully, within what you've done for the brief, you can even talk about maybe some of the research that you did around it, maybe even some of the testing. You can just really treat it as a real project. Hopefully, there's some sort of time constraint that you put on it, what process you went through to do it, what was the problem state, what were you looking to achieve with a particular brief, etc. Because some briefs are good, some briefs are bad. I've seen different prompts all over the internet, but yeah, that's how I do it. If you want to, in my learning guide, if you download that, it outlines each points that you should cover in every case study, whether it's a fake project, real project, etc. So definitely take a look at that. Hopefully that's helpful. I find user need statements are, oh, perfect. Thanks, Kelly. Awesome. Can you guys, there's scooters going by. Can you let me know if that's obnoxious or if you can't hear it at all? I put my headphones in to help you guys avoid it, but if it's like really loud, please let me know. Can't hear. Okay, perfect. Thank you. What are some of the major things I should learn as a beginner? Straight up, I have a learning guide on my website. Go to my bio now, click on that link. It's free. Grab it. I break down everything that you need to know as a beginner. I don't know how you guys are managing starting out as a UX person because there's so many different types of resources out there. That's why I created the learning guide to begin with, because it sticks to just what you need to know to get started. You don't have to know everything. Yeah. So, anyways, please go grab that because that'll be good. It talks through like the foundation one, like what it really entails to be a UX or product designer, to setting the foundation. So, a very core understanding of the basic design principles and foundations. But it also in there will help you just get started, just start designing, just practice just with the software and interfaces and stuff like that. But then it also goes into kind of a little bit more of the facilitation side or the research side, understand qualitative versus quantitative research. And again, it's all about just you need to understand this to get started, not that you have to be a master expert in actually executing it. So yeah, that's a good one. Actually, I'm just show you real quick, go away from what I'm doing now. Yeah, it's this one right here on my website, learning guide. And then, yeah, it's just a very practical. You can see a little snapshot here. It's like key principles. What's the difference between mobile app designs, a couple of videos, what the heck's a wireframe, style guides, pattern libraries, and design systems, some articles and links to all those good things. But yeah, build your foundation. Also, building communities. So one of the things that I've found super helpful is just taking advantage of the different like Slack communities and different things out there. Like you're not totally isolated doing this, which is really nice. And then just practice. This is the number one thing. It's not going to get you hired, but hopefully some of the advice in there will get you more worthy projects. And then, yeah, what does your resume and portfolio look like when you have basically no experience? So yeah, go check that out if you want. I see a couple other questions in here. Don't want to miss. Any tips for a UX designer looking for an entry position? It's rough out there for you. I think the best thing that you can do to just differentiate yourself is make sure your like portfolio and resume does have a lot of personality. Don't just splash everything on there. Really emphasize your understanding, emphasize where your interests lie. So if you're just looking for any kind of blanket entry position just to get started, that makes total sense. But at the same time, like where you're interested, are you a little bit more research heavy? Do you want to get into the coding side of things? Don't just be a generalist of I can do UX. If you can specialize yourself, that little bit of uniqueness, even if you're not, you know, by no means an expert into it, it will just set you apart when they're looking through all of the different resumes and portfolios and whatnot. So yeah, try to find those little unique things. I would also say the thing about you. So that's just getting the interview, making sure that personality is coming through, making sure that little uniqueness is coming through. But when you get the interview, again, sell yourself, your personality sells yourself. I stand by that your personality sells you a lot more often than your actual skill set does. So keep those things in mind. And it can be hard because I think a lot of us designers get into design to be our little introvert selves and play with colors and layout and stuff. But it ends up being really important. How do you not feel intimidated by job descriptions as an entry level designer? Oh, because they're all a joke, because they're all just made up. That's how you don't feel intimidated. Trust me when I say this. I have met a lot of people who write these job descriptions and they are a total dreamscape. They are not reality. And so that's why don't be intimidated by them. Apply for, if you even hit 50% of one of those job descriptions, apply for it. 40%, sure, fine, whatever. The worst thing that can happen is that they say no. But trust me, when you see things out there, it's like, oh, entry level, 3 to 4 years experience. It's just to filter people out. It's like, if you don't think you're good enough, why should they think you're good enough? You know what I mean? But trust me when I say they're all just very fabricated, very much a dream, like almost unrealistic person. Yeah, actually, no, it is an unrealistic kind of goal that they're setting forward. So just apply. Just don't be intimidated by them at all. Is there any websites that offer internships for beginners? I've seen a lot of ones popping up for junior positions. I don't know any off the top of my head about internships. Sorry about that. Do you feel that this type of boot camps make seems? Yeah, absolutely. Especially things like the Google course and stuff like that. Like the more the boot camps or courses or whatever that require less investment does make it seem like anybody can be a designer. But that's just the thing. I don't think those people actually make it into design. Tell me if you think differently, but I don't think they get past that. And especially if you can't get past the course, or you're only investing in your education as like free courses or very little time, even because I don't even think that Google course certificate takes very much time. It's going to show. It's going to show in your skill set. I would bet money that those people are bypassed by the people who've really invested in their education, or if you're more self-taught, have really just hustled their way through. But yeah, there are just a lot of people throwing that, like, hey, I have this certificate on my resume. But I know as a hiring manager that like that means little to nothing to me. I need to see your skills. I need to see what you can actually do, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's bad. It was really bad sometimes. What do you think about cover letters? Anybody actually read them? Oh, I personally hate when cover letters are required. I think it's such a joke because I don't believe anybody actually reads them unless they're very concise. If you have a full page cover letter, or even, let's say, a chunky paragraph, very unlikely somebody's going to read that cover letter. But for the most part, when I've read through applications and stuff, that you don't include a cover letter. And the reason why, especially for designers specifically, is we have a full ass portfolio. If you can't gauge off of that, if you want to interview somebody, there might be something wrong with you, that you need an extra cover letter to really run it. I think cover letters are just like straight up legacy from like other trades and things. That's my personal opinion about them. They can be cool. I've seen some really just like jump out at you, loaded with personality cover letters, but I think that's few and far between. I personally hate when cover letters are required, even if I'm hiring for the position and I'm not the one saying that they need to be required. Sorry, okay, just scrolling up. Are there any job sites you like specific to UX roles? Job sites, like sites where you can find jobs for UX roles? I think that's your question. Honestly, I have to say no. I actually have an article on this. I'll just show you really quick because we're here. But I did a bit of digging. The problem with job listings, and there's just no aggregated place where you can just look at everything all together, unfortunately. And that's why I can't say yes, oh, you'll find the best jobs over here. That I like Google, just Google job search. Let me see if I can find it. Just because of everything is so scattered and so spread out. Personally, for me, I stick to the major ones like LinkedIn, or I guess it depends like regionally where you are, but like Indeed back in the States, I think was a big one. I think Glassdoor also. I just stick to the big ones because I don't want to go to all these mini sites that everybody has. Dribble has one. So yeah, I can't really say I have a favorite just because it's just so spread out everywhere. Yes, there we go. Finding the best job boards. So this is on my Medium. So yeah, I have Google, and then I have the just takeaways from what is great about them. They just have advanced filtering options, so you can easily find like remote stuff or whatever. Then there's this Coroflot filtering options. Most of their job listings are in the USA. That's also another thing, is that a lot of the job sites are regional. So it really just depends on where you're located or where you're looking to. But yeah, Authentic Jobs, TopTel is a good one. UX job boards, actually called UX job. Anyways, if you want, go check on this. Remote jobs, all that good stuff. Smashing Mag. It's just a huge collection of researched ones that I put together. So go grab that if you want to check that out. Okay. What would you recommend for a newbie and how to create a great portfolio? Do good work. The way to create a good portfolio is to have killer projects, even if you don't have any like real job experience. I don't know what I did before. But yeah, the best thing you can do is focus more on the actual work itself over worrying too much about your portfolio. Because I've even seen great case studies hosted in Notion, which is completely free, like very little visual design, free services like Behance, Dribble, not so much. But yeah, that's the key of creating a great portfolio. Also, I said it earlier, but I have an outline of what makes up a great case study, also what you should include in your portfolio in my learning guide. There's a link over at my profile if you want to grab that. Thinking of getting a digital media master's. Is it Katie? Okay. I quit my master's degree in I couldn't even tell you what it was. It was like 7 years ago now, but it was in some form of UX, computer science, some interactive media, whatever it was. And I quit it because it was basically disproportionate to the things I already knew in the tech industry. I started working in tech my within 6 months of starting my bachelor's. I was in startups, I was freelancing, I was doing all these things. I get to my master's degree, and these teachers were so far removed from the tech world that I found I was educating them about like Google releases, OS release, all these different things that were going on that were super important to know about to be successful as a product designer. And they were very out of touch. And I don't know if you're from the US, but obviously the US is exorbitantly expensive when it comes to higher education. Pains me. But I am so happy that I did that. I'm not in even more mountains of debt than my first 4 years already took me, but it's not as important. It's total personal choice, and if you choose to do it, amazing. But what I found is that I just continued to work. I continued to improve my experience hands on, and that became so much more valuable than anything I could have done or learned in a master's program. I also looked at another master's program here in the U, or well, here, over there in the UK. And just as a full circle thing, I ended up not going to that either because I had this idea in my head. I was like, master's degree is going to really put me in a great position. And full circle, to tell you a little bit, is that I ended up being in a position in the company that I'm in now, teaching and mentoring the students that were going through that program, because it really is so much more valuable to have the hands-on true real life experience than it is to have just the formal education around it. Now I say that because I know there's blended degrees as well. Like the one I was actually going to go to is Hyper Island in Manchester, and they work with companies. So like they get their students to work with companies. But by the time you complete that, even 2, 3, 4 year, you may have worked with one, two kind of, I would say, like notable or real clients when you could have worked with so many others in that amount of time on your own. And also now I'm on the other side of it, is hiring all the way up through lead designers, design managers, principals, even helping hire directors and stuff like that. Education just, it is so trumped by your experience. More hands-on experience is the way to go. Thank you for asking that question. Oh my gosh. Design systems. Okay, you guys are killing it. I'm so sorry. I wouldn't say new. I think all the ones that have been out for quite some time, like Design Better podcast and like those types of ones. I'm not a huge podcast person when it comes to that. I'd rather read articles and stuff. So I don't know of any new ones. But if anyone knows of any new or exciting, interesting podcasts, please comment them for Tired Boy, because he's tired and can't find his own podcast. Okay. Framer, it's amazing and so easy to use. Have really professional templates. Yes. Yeah, Framer is super great. I personally use Webflow, which is similar, but lots of good stuff has been coming out by Framer. And I personally like, for a very simple portfolio, Squarespace. But again, all that stuff, Framer, Webflow is expensive. I don't actually recommend it for folks just starting out. I think it's a little bit too much of an overhead. Maybe when you get more into it, or if you just have the funds, amazing. But yeah, I can see it being a bit of an overhead. Upwork does have some UX gigs. It's great to just crank through and hustle with some design output and stuff. But if you want to practice visual skills, absolutely. Just crank out a bunch of work, get through that experience. It's basically just freelancing. But if you want to have real projects, like real problems, real success measurements, that type of thing, sometimes even a dummy brief is better than just Upwork briefs. But also let me know if I'm wrong on that. That's just my impression of kind of Upwork, or what's the other one? I guess Fiverr is one as well. Yeah. How important are design systems for juniors? Any recommendations to learn more? Yes. I'm gonna say it a million times, but grab my learning guide, just because it breaks down the difference between, yeah, design systems, kind of atomic design, all that kind of stuff. And it is important for juniors to have an understanding. Do you need to be able to build a design system? Absolutely not. Do you even need to be able to contribute to a design system? Probably not in most cases. But do you need to have a very good understanding of how to utilize one? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, take a look at that learning guide because it covers that. What do you recommend for people who want to work in UX but don't have work experience? Oh, just get started. Just start learning. Do it in a low touch way when you start, though. Do all the free stuff that you can. So watch the YouTube videos, take the free courses, just get your sample flavor of what kind of UX entails with the lowest overhead that you can. Obviously, your time is valuable and stuff, but with the lowest overhead, because you need to know if it's actually like something you want to stick with and go along with. And then once you're like, yes, I'm totally into this. I love it. I want to be doing this forever. Then start to really invest in your education. But that's, if you have absolutely no work experience, that's how I would go about it. I've been trying on LinkedIn Indeed with about 1,000 applicants per job posted. I keep seeing these TikToks and other videos pop up with, oh, I've applied, people, yeah, 500, thousands of applications sent out, and the optimization, people have got like spreadsheets and all this kind of crazy stuff. I think the best advice that you could really do is that while you're probably searching, try to be getting side experience. So don't just be, my advice would be, just don't be reading books, or try to get more tangible hands-on work, because that, again, it's just all about things that kind of can set you apart. So freelancing projects or volunteer projects or whatever the case may be. But yeah, don't sit idle while you're waiting for all these like massive droves of applications to sort themselves out. But I know, like I say that knowing it can feel absolutely draining to be doing both. But I think it's more valuable at the time to be still practicing in one way, shape, or form than just sitting idle or even just absorbing information. Doing is super important while you're going through that. Yeah, it's not great out there. I'll say that. Which web design platform would you recommend for designer branching? Oh, which web design so like to host your portfolio or to actually be building websites like on a regular basis? Clarify, please. Then I can answer. Ooh, what courses do you recommend to master things like information architecture and components? There is one on Skillshare for information architecture that I think is really good. And then for componentry, design systems, oh, I just want to say like YouTube videos. Like there's so many free resources and stuff out there. That's my general guidance. Sorry, I don't have any off the top of my head specific ones, but Skillshare for information architecture, probably YouTube as well. But componentry and the interworks in componentry, I've seen so many good videos on YouTube. Yeah. Also notice when researching UXR roles, you almost have to search research. Yes, UX research, UX design, also branching into like product managers as well. So intermixed, so much overlap between the roles and responsibilities. If you guys don't already know, actual role titles are garbage. They're just worthless. They're made up. There's no consistency whatsoever, especially when it comes to the next level up from one senior to the next. If it's a startup versus a big company, there'll be very different requirements. But yeah, it's so much more important to just actually review the descriptions, as unfortunate and time consuming as that is, because there's just no consistency. There's no standardization across the board. Fancy portfolios with micro interactions have an edge, or should I focus more on the case study? Very good question. I would say you can absolutely make a wow first impression. Like some of these cool, yeah, even just like the stock framer ones and Wix ones that I've seen, templates that you can use, just the movement that you can have. You're sticking in my mind now. But if your case study does not equal that same level of quality and intentionality, it's not important. You might have wowed me for half a second, but you really need to wow in the case study, really. I would take a Word document with a good case study over a fancy interaction, if that makes any sense. If you can do both, that's super great. You get the wow factor. Oh, hey, you're the guy with the like 3D moving illustration art on your portfolio. Loved it. But you're not getting the interview if your case studies suck. That's just how it be. How are you? Yeah. How are you guys liking the premium account? Do you find that helpful? Has that advanced your job search, or do you just have access to more stuff that you have to apply for? Like, how does that work? I'd love to know. How you end up in your current role. How did I end up here? Oh, I worked my ass off. I slept my way to the top. No, seriously, I worked my ass off. It probably doesn't say on here, but I'm a principal product designer. The way it works at my company, huge, massive tech company with probably, oh, 20,000 employees just within the product side of things, which includes design, research, product managers. That's not tech at all. It's not developers, engineers. Overall, I think we have 300 designers, hundreds of researchers, hundreds of copywriters, hundreds of things. And I'm a principal product designer, and I am one of two in the company. And that means I'm above design managers and leads. I'm equal to senior design managers in like the ranking tier of corporate ladder life. I don't know how to answer that question more than just I worked my ass off really hard. And I got lucky. At the end of the day, it's opportunity and luck. When you have opportunities, you work really hard and set yourself up for it. So I don't know if that's a sufficient answer or not. Can you talk about the different meaning of UX position? It's not enough time. You got interactive designers, UX, you even have UXR can do a bit of wireframing and UX kind of practices. Then you have web designers versus app designers. You have product designers. You have UI designers. Like I wouldn't even know how to start to break that down because there's just so many, no consistency, standardization. If you have a more specific question about specific roles, maybe I can help. What are your favorite fonts? What? All of them. No, I love a good fat Didot font, but there's so many different types of Didot fonts. I would say that's my favorite kind of font family. And I love script fonts as well. I've always loved script fonts. I think probably 4 different versions of my portfolio had script fonts in them. Bad choice. bad choice. But I love it. I love it so much. I love typography. If I open up my Pinterest kind of typography board right now, it would be insane because I love letter forms and I love, yeah, even abstract letter forms and stuff like that. But font faces really just come with, I have a favorite font face for different projects and stuff like that, right? But if you guys have seen, I've switched up my branding a little bit, and literally for the reason that I love so many different font faces, or like I can't choose one. You'll be seeing a lot more different font faces in my social media, on my website. If a few of you are going there now and you're seeing a bunch of different font faces. And it's because, yeah, I'm just obsessed with different types of fonts and for different purposes. There's so many things about it. Serif, sans serif, all the good stuff. Do I have to interview people or send out survey for case study as a beginner? Oh, do a bit of qualitative research? You don't have to. Is it going to help you get an interview? Absolutely. Yeah, doing qualitative or quantitative research. Qualitative is easier, right? It's just easier to access, easier tools. You can literally talk to your friends. I saw a really good one by a junior who did one for just like the university that they're in. They saw a problem that they feel like they could help fix, basically, with a digital product, sorry. And they just talked to the people at their school. They talked to their teachers, talked to their advisors, right? And that just adds so much more validity into the project than not trying to validate it in any way. Doing a survey or interviewing people just shows that you're really trying to get to the root of the problem rather than just kind of surface level stuff. So it helps set you apart from everybody else who doesn't do that, is basically what it boils down to. Job boards for freelancing. I think somebody else mentioned it, but Upwork is a good one. I know Fiverr also has some good stuff, but those are all probably more kind of visual design focused, not super in-depth projects. So if anybody has good freelancing boards, comment them for Sarah, because that'd be nice. Have you heard of Gusher.co? Gusher. I have not. I'm going to look it up right now. Let's all look together. What are we looking at here? I'll just back you guys up a little bit. Work hard now. Is this what we're looking at? Get your startup started. This feels more like for startup stuff, I guess, roles. If I go look at that real quick. My input is that the site sucks because it's very slow. Oh, there we go. Okay. So is this, I got a project from Taproot. I recommend this platform for real world projects. Oh, I'm gonna write that down. Thank you for writing that. Taproot. Cool. Recent grad, I've realized that connections are everything in the field. Yes. Yes, they are. I say this so begrudgingly because I did not enter design to be a social person. Networking is everything. Catch me in my first couple of years in Portland, Oregon is where I went to school and kind of started in design and stuff. And yeah, meetup events are super good. They have them here in Amsterdam a lot of the time. There's a lot of like women in tech ones, but there's also just general kind of UX or computer sciencey type ones. So I honestly, I find meetups are super good. Has the landscape changed a lot since like post pandemic though? Because I know a lot of that stuff went digital, but I just find I'm like, if I'm gonna go, like I'm on video calls all day anyway, so I'm not gonna jump on a video call with like, however many people, strangers. Like if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go and meet in person. That's how you like actually form connections. But also like conferences. If you're a social person, you can make those connections. Like you're obviously there for all the same interests. That's always a good one. But personally, being the introvert that I am, just hitting somebody up one on one. Hey, I really love what you're doing, whatever that may be. I would love to grab a coffee with you. Sit down, chat with them. That's the best way I've found to make really genuine, cool connections. And obviously, you're reaching out to that person for whatever you're interested about them or what you want to learn from them. And those connections I've found the most kind of valuable in my network. Yeah. How do you use and integrate AI into your workflow? Any recommendations? Ooh, yeah, I am a big fan of Gemini. It used to be called something else, but Google's Chat GPT essentially. I use it to do some of my initial research. So I might ask questions about what is X company's indirect or direct competitors. I use it a lot in my writing. I'm not a good writer. Like I'm not a born writer, I should say. I like to help. It's what's a good outline for this type of presentation, or what would be an interesting, almost hook. I guess a hook is more like content stuff, but like a hook to get people intrigued to do this. Actually, because you have to socialize so much, I have to socialize so much my work internally on our like internal social media thing at work. I'm like, what would, yeah, what would make people interested in this? And like, how do I communicate that out? I know a lot of people use it for design prompts, design briefs and challenges, more detailed the better, which is super good. I've even asked it to you, what are some of the core usability issues that you can identify on X site? So it's limited, obviously, but some of those are good, like off the top of my head uses. But I have been thinking about doing a specific content piece, whether a video or article on, yeah, basically using AI in your workflow. So, I don't know. Azores. I went to Azores last year. Probably not saying that right, but the islands off the coast of Portugal, amazing. We've also been to Lisbon and stuff, which I loved. So good. LinkedIn Premium, any different? Yeah, if anybody's on LinkedIn Premium, please comment, because I'm not. I would love to know if it has impacted kind of your job search, job finding. When do you know when you're ready to start getting hands-on experience and even applying for jobs? You're ready to get hands-on experience. I'm trying to decipher exactly what you mean. Do real work or just start practicing? Because you're ready to start practicing from day one. Day one. The best, absolute best way to start. And again, it's in my learning guide. Go download it. It's just everything's in there, guys. I'm sorry, but like it is. I spent a lot of time on it because of these questions. Just remake somebody else's design, or try to. Just start. To just start by doing just very simple things. It does not need to be perfect. You just need to start practicing. So if that's what you're talking about. Now, when it comes to like real hands-on experience, like actually charging people for money, that one is tricky. I'm trying to think of my freelance experience because I started as a developer, a front-end developer, and that was poopy. So I switched over to design. But I just started practicing what I wanted to do. So I was like, I want to incorporate personas into my projects, and so I started to do fake projects, and I presented that. And I was like, hey, these are the things that I can do. I started freelancing, and freelancing started charging very little, but still income. And then working with clients, and then going through that client process built me up to actually get me like a startup and then a corporate job. But because it's like, yeah, with clients, you're working with more real constraints. You have to do the feedback stuff. You want to like actually validate that your proposals are successful and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was my journey into that. Oh, awesome. Thanks for joining. And thanks everyone who stuck around. I see, it bounced to the bottom. I'm just scrolling back up now, but I see a few of you had to leave. No, but I tried in a month, no different. Okay, saying LinkedIn Premium doesn't really make that much difference. What makes a good case study? Good work. Again, learning guide, outline of exactly what you need to include in a case study. Please, free. It's absolutely free. Just go grab it. That'll really do you wonders. Do you do portfolio reviews? I do not. I have to do them in my real job. So I get a bit exhausted of having to do them on here. But that being said, sometimes on here on TikTok, I do run giveaways also in my email list. So sometimes I'll do like a spurt of portfolio reviews, or do a giveaway of portfolio and resume reviews. So that's always an option if you're on my email list. But I don't do them regularly, I should say. Helvetica all day. Yeah, okay. I will say for sans serifs, Helvetica is nice. I use it a lot, but I love Inter, Source Sans Pro, and Open Sans. Just like my go-to basic, super easy to read fonts. Any tips for when you add your first UX teammate? Previously a team of one. Oh my goodness. What a good question. Build rapport. Build a really good kind of working relationship. Do some not direct work tasks, if that makes sense. Design something very cool together. I don't want to be on here saying like, go bowling together, have drinks together, which can really help things, but more so tactically, do brainstorming sessions together, do fun interactive. And also I'm just thinking of the things that I used to do when I led a team. We got together and just shared cool design shit that we were like excited about. And that was just such a cool way. One of the designers was like, super stoked about this like intricate, like atomic design system. And it was really granular and whoa. And then this other guy was like super excited about this. It was actually an art installation in one of the museums and stuff. So yeah, it's just like building that type of connection because what it'll do is it sets a great precedent for when you get into those sticky situations where maybe you two disagree on a design decision or whatever the thing may be. It just sets a little bit of a better foundation. And then also, if that does happen, just set very clear expectations about your role. What do you do? What do I do? When I was a design lead and then a design manager got added into my team, we just sat down together. What are you actually interested in? What are you good at? Let's talk about all the things that we think need to be done and who does what. And then maybe we reevaluate as things go on. So hopefully that's helpful. Awesome. Do you use design thinking? Yeah, it's just like my life. I just think design. No, design thinking it's just such a blanket term. Honestly, I think it's a buzzword. Oh, we use design thinking, especially like corporate companies love to use that. We're just design thinking first. It means at this point it means virtually nothing. What do you mean by design thinking? Do you think about design? You know what I mean? There's just so much to it. Are you data centric? Are you research centric? Are you customer? Or I think more so that's replaced design thinking is customer centricity. Do you use customer centricity methodologies? Absolutely. 100% yes. But design thinking to me personally has just lost its meaning long time ago. Advertising has to be advertising major. Sorry. I think Ian, I'm like trying to read your message. Yeah. And went into art direction. I now want to consider going to UX UI. Yeah, you're going to be way ahead of the game of so many people. Art direction, yeah, as your background, dude, you're good. You're good. You just need to figure out kind of the ins and outs of what it takes to be UX UI, right? Any tips for doing funnel analysis on competitors? Funnel analysis. It's always really difficult to find kind of market data unless you have access to some high level, very expensive agency. But just like analysis, of course, I'm thinking data, but just a heuristic analysis, kind of usability analysis. Or what we do a lot is researchers do observations of real people, real users going through competitors, seeing where they struggle and yeah, seeing the problems that they face or what they really enjoy. And that's a really good way to do it. You could do that as a team of one as well. If you're just doing this, even if you're doing a fake design brief and you identify your competitors, you could have your friend run through a couple, or like even a competitor, a few friends, and then eventually have them use your prototype or something, see the pros and cons. So yeah, getting other people to do it and then also moderated. So like asking them questions, getting them to speak out loud. All of that is all so good, such good experience as well to be able to include in your resume and portfolio and all that good stuff. You did the UX course, but it doesn't include a UI side. Should I be starting? Yes. So much of the industry is moving to product design. And with the wave of AI and some of these things taking over some of the tasks of designers, you're going to need to be a bit more. So I think I'm very much of the opinion that we're going to see a huge reduction, if not a complete elimination of UI specific roles, UX specific roles, interaction, anything that's a slice of what product design really is now, I think is going to be eliminated. So you're going to better your chances to be hired by also understanding the UI side. Now, do you need to become like a mastery in UI? Probably not, because now we have things like design systems. And like I said, AI is going to take some of it, but you do need to have a fundamental understanding of what good looks like, be able to create good so you can at least assess what AI or some of these other tools or things that are getting created look like should be and looks like. Okay, I'm going to do a few more. Case studies that true. I want to apply for jobs, internships, but won't own 6+ projects soon. You don't need 6+ projects. You need 2 or 3 in your portfolio, and they just need to be very good. So it's quality over quantity. Spend your time crafting and putting a lot of intention into 2 to 3 case studies, and you'll be good to apply for jobs. I'm very serious. What's your UX superpower? What do you wish you could do better? What a great question. My UX superpower is, oh, two things come to mind, and they're not necessarily like directly correlated with UX. The first thing that comes to mind is my communication skills because I've honed them. I've gotten tremendous amount of feedback on them, and now is one of my top regarded skills amongst my peers in leadership. The other thing is that I am extremely organized when it comes to like my work. So I have like I've been told that I could be a project manager or even a senior project manager or program manager. Because when it comes to the facilitation of workshops, I think about all the little things, the breaks, the buffers, the who's going to be running up what, making sure like just so many little details I think that people often overlook. And so I think that level of scrutiny over workshops, brainstorms, and stuff like that leads me to have extremely valuable end results coming out of them. So those are my two superpowers that came to mind. But what do I wish I could do better? I will say I am a bit removed from the real practice of design. I delegate, I oversee, I review because I'm like in a leadership position. I just wish I was better at Figma, like faster. I can do pretty much everything, but it might take me about three times as long as a really good senior designer. And I see some of these really talented folks on YouTube and stuff that can just whip out some wicked cool stuff in Figma. And just because I'm so removed from it now, I just, yeah, it'd be nice to still be able to do that. I wouldn't use it in my day to day, but it would be nice. So thanks for this. More live soon. Thank you. Thank you. Is there a reliable resource for design brief to build a portfolio? Is there any reliable resource for finding a good design brief to build a project for your portfolio? I'm trying to read through the comment there. If it's a reliable source to find a design brief, then I would check out my learning guide or but there's tons like if anybody wants to comment, that's cool too. But I also have this resource and it is literally called The Brief. And if you start any project, even a fake project, I have to move. So it's this one right there. Uh, if you start any project with that, it will be portfolio worthy. If you can fill out all the key points in there, and then additionally use what I put in my learning guide as the outline for your case study, you're going to be golden. How long would it normally take to create an entire platform design from scratch? It depends. What are you designing? Are you designing some internal facing tool with a tremendous amount of different use cases and scenarios? Or are you designing like a dog walking app? Like it really just depends on the level of complexity. How do you keep the dev team updated? It's a good question. I've worked with a lot of different dev teams. I think the best interactions that I have, yeah, one, daily stand-ups. That's pretty typical. But what I feel like is those daily stand-ups personally as a designer. Like you get to say your 2 seconds of update and then it's 98% of very technical in-depth dev stuff that all the devs need to talk about. So I would recommend what a thing I used to do is, yeah, daily stand-ups, whatever, fine. But do they tune in or tune out? Who knows? But a little showcase, either weekly, bi-weekly, little showcase. People love visuals. We're very lucky as designers that we can show, like, with get people to look at stuff. Little weekly showcases, stuff like that gets your dev team really engaged. It can be a review or it can just be exploration, whatever. Set the context beforehand. Otherwise, they'll be like, "Oh no, what are you showing me?" So yeah, that's a great way to engage your dev team. Now, when it comes to updated on every iteration, every little change, I imagine you're doing that through like roadmaps, backlogs, like stuff like that. A med school application all in one platform for 4 weeks now, and I think I'm super slow. A med school application? That sounds complicated. 4 weeks? It's not a lot of time. And it depends on how far you're going with it. If you're just like straight up designing it, or you straight up like you're doing research and designing it and like maybe trying to validate it, 4 weeks is quite short. It's quite a short amount of time for something that seemingly sounds like complex. So, med school application all in one. Beginner. Yeah, it depends on how deep you're going. Sorry. If you're going deep, yeah, easily 2 months. If you're just doing surface level design, like purely just doing the UI kind of slash UX, maybe 4 weeks is about enough. But if you're going any further than that, it seems a little bit tight. Do you think is the best landing page design? What do you think is the best landing page design for websites nowadays? Depends. What is the company? What's the topic? What's the website for? What are you trying to do? What's the goal? What's the service you're trying to market? Okay, you can't answer that question. Okay, is that the last question? That's a funny one to land on, I must say. Okay, these are the last ones. Sorry, how do you find briefs? The typing of that question. Yeah, how do you find briefs? There's so many brief things now, I don't even keep track. Let me try to share that with you guys, like in a future video, in the next, or like even maybe in a story or something, because I don't have them off the top of my head. I've just seen a lot of bad ones. The best thing I can say is when you find a brief website, the thing to look for is how realistic it is, that it has some sort of constraints, or you set the constraints yourself. Look for an actual real problem brief and then work off of that, because the other ones are just not as good. They don't build as good case studies. They're not realistic. That's not how things go in the real world. Real problem, real constraints. And if anybody has any recommendations right now, comment them. But otherwise, I'll try to make something later. Okay, last question. In your leadership position, how often are you pitching features to that originate from your team? Great question. I am over dozens of designers, and I am actually responsible for creating the 3 to 5 year vision for the entire company. I would say 75–80% of what has defined our 3 to 5 year vision are other designers' ideas. And so when it comes to my team, that's, I guess, what my team would be. My team is almost the entire UX organization, which is very big, but I would say a few key like lead designers, senior designers, etc. And then I pitched that to our C-suite and got buy-in for that direction, which made lots of stuff happen. Most of their ideas, we do the exploration. I'm involved in that. So I say push harder or pull back. And so I'm in the process of making those ideas with them. So by the time I am pitching them to higher leadership, I'm sold if I'm in it with them. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, that's it. That's all the questions. Thank you so much for joining live. I really appreciate it. For all of you who ask questions about portfolio case studies, please go grab my portfolio checklist, the learning guide that I have. They're free or very cheap. So go download those. Those will really help you along the process. And then also, I think a few of you asked some really good questions I've answered in articles on Medium. So go to my, link in my profile, Medium, etc. You will find it. So yeah, good luck and see you later.